Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. We've been selling auto parts for over 30 years.
In this video, we are removing and replacing the front brake pads and rotors in a 2008 Subaru Outback. If you need these parts or other parts for your car, click the link in the description and head over to 1aauto.com. I'm going to pull this left front tire off. I'm going to use a 19mm socket and a breaker bar. Just crack them free while it's still on the ground. You're going to want to raise and support the front of the vehicle. We're using a lift, but you can do this with jack and jack stands in your driveway. I'm going to loosen up the rest of the lugs. So get all the lugs off, pull the tire off. We're going to use a 14mm wrench on this caliper right here. Get that bolt loose. Once you break it free, you can do it by hand sometimes. You can also do this with a socket and a ratchet. Do the bottom one. You use a small pry bar and compress the caliper a little bit so it's easier to remove. And just slip it in here. You can use a flat blade screwdriver as well. Just compress it a little bit. Should slide off. There you go. Pulls out. A lot of rust in there. We're going to use a bungee cord. I'm going to wrap it around the strut, around the spring. Put that in the bracket there. And then we're going to put this other end in the other hole. Tuck that out of the way. And pull the pads out. We're going to use a 17mm socket, an extension, and a ratchet. I'm going to take these caliper bracket bolts out. Break that one free, and break this one free. Pull that out. This rotor slides off fairly easily. If your rotor was stuck on, you can take a hammer and hammer right here, 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 and here. You should be able to break the rust free so it pops right off. We're going to take a little bit of brake parts cleaner and spray it on our pad slides right here. Take our wire brush, clean this up. Take a little more brake parts cleaner. Use a rag, wipe it off. Same to the other side. We're going to pull these caliper pins out. Spray them down with a little brake parts cleaner. Wipe them with a rag. And spray down in the hole, little parts cleaner. Wipe it out with your rag. Should be good. Take a little brake caliper grease, put it on the pin, put it back, and do the same for the other side. We're going to clean up our hub. You use a little wire brush, get in here. This one's really not too bad. A little bit of rust right there. And use some brake parts cleaner. Get all that off. These are our old brakes and rotors, pads and rotors. This is our new pads and rotors set up from 1aauto.com. As you can see, the pads are exactly the same squealers, same shape of the pads, same ends. And if you look at the rotors are the same height, same machined holes. Flip them open. Same vented, it's a vented discs. Same height that way. So get your parts at 1aauto.com and you'll be ready to rock and roll. We're gonna put our rotor on backwards because we're gonna clean it. Use some brake parts cleaner and a rag. There's a protective coating on these rotors so that they don't rust while it's on the shelf. We'll flip it over. I'm gonna put a lug nut on so that it holds the rotor on. And use some brake parts cleaner on this side and wipe it with the rag. I'm gonna install our caliper bracket. Take the caliper bracket bolts. Start one and then get the other one in. Start tightening these down with our 17mm socket, and extension and ratchet. Now we're going to torque these bolts to 89 foot-pounds. We're going to install our brake pads. Use a little bit of caliper grease on the slides where the brake pad goes into the slide, and then just a little bit on the back here. The squealer goes on the inside on this. Put a little caliper grease on these ears and a little bit on the back here. I'm going to take the caliper, take the bungee cord off. You're going to take the old brake pad. I'm going to use a C-clamp to compress it. Just want to do this gently, slowly. It's going to be pushing the fluid from the caliper back up into the brake master cylinder reservoir. And because we did not disconnect the brake hose when doing this, we do not have to bleed the brakes when we're done. We want to make sure this brake hose is not twisted when reinstalling the caliper. Slide it on. We're going to install our brake caliper bolts. Now we're going to torque these caliper bolts to 20 foot-pounds. Take this nut off. All right, now I'm installing the lug nuts. You're gonna snug them right down, and we'll torque it when we put it down on the ground. We're gonna torque the lug nuts in a star pattern. We're torquing them to 90 foot-pounds. The reason why you want to do a star pattern, it is going to get the wheel flush against the rotor properly, and it won't be warped. It'll prevent vibration. Now before you drive away, you're going to want to make sure that you pump the brake pedal slowly, multiple times, because there will be an air gap between the brake pads and the caliper. So when you pump it, it will push the fluid back to the caliper and compress the brake pads.
Thanks for watching. Visit us at oneauto.com for quality auto parts, fast and free shipping, and the best customer service in the industry.